Hello, hello. We are live. What's up? Hi, everybody. How's it going? I can tell you now, while everybody's signing on, that like, hey, David, welcome to David, by the way. All right, so I dyed my hair myself for the first time in my life this week, and so one of the things they didn't tell you, like, oh, it's easy, but they didn't tell you that like you need hair bands. You need those rubber bands to go, those hair things. And I didn't know that. I actually don't have those. And so I was like putting chip clips in my hair and all this stuff. And like, then the lady on the video, she has this nice, like she's got this pencil and she's doing this thing and it's all nice and foldy. And I was just like, wow, paintbrush, like, whatever. Like, and then I put the cap on and prayed. I was like,
it looks great. It looks great. Nobody would know.
Well, thank you. But then I was like, okay, well now apparently I'm a hair badass. And so I was like, I'm going to cut this thing, right? So like I totally gave myself a mullet. It's an actual mullet where like I actually cut it I don't know if you can see it, but I cut like all this part short in the front. So it's like hanging over my ears. So I'm trying to tuck it back so you can't really see. And it's kind of like the Jennifer Aniston haircut from the 90s. Like,
yeah, it's exactly like that. I was just thinking that when you were explaining it. Jennifer Aniston.
That's not,
yeah, Brad Pitt's around the corner waiting for you.
Well, I know, but that's not hot to me. Like this is really essential conversation for our listeners here. But I like the rock and roll messy job, Okay. I'm more Angelina than I am Jennifer.
Got it. Yeah.
But hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Lately Live, David, Allison. So this is a really unique thing that we're doing here, David. And just a reminder, everybody, to get your chat on so it says all panelists and attendees. So if you're chatting us, we would love that, and let us know where you are, maybe. But if you do it from all panelists and attendees, we'll see it. Shoot, I just lost my train of thought. I was going to say, so you're my first ever two-time guest.
Oh, wow. Yay. What an honor. That's cool.
Yeah. Cause so I think we had you on in New Year's, like just a couple of months ago, actually, because it was a great way to kick off the new year with a warm friend. And then when we were talking, I think the other day, we were just like, we got to have David back on, because right now more than ever, what matters is what people care about. Like it's very clear. Well, we were just having a political conversation, but I was going to say, generally, it's very clear what people care about. Let's just say health is for sure one of them. And money is definitely another one, right? Well-being and all these other things. And so as marketers, what we're tasked with, not only now, it's always, is understanding what people care about and meeting them in that arena. Now the old way, I'm just diving right in, and yeah. I need to say welcome to the crew here, but I'm so excited. I want to get in this. Like the old way, as we all know, was to like look at numbers and weird data points and try to make assumptions about people based on all those kinds of commonalities. And the new way of thinking is what you've invented. It's called value graphics, and people pay him mega big bucks to help big giant companies, and until recently speak all over the world on this topic. There's a whole new shift in using values versus demographic static, so value graphics, to understand what people care about. And I want to just explain that real quick. So for example, if I'm a white female and I'm 46 years old, doesn't mean that I have the same things in common with all the other white people, 46-year-old females, right? Like that's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane when you think about it. When you talk about it that way, it's absolutely insane.
It's insane. It's asinine even, I'm going to say, right? Yeah, that's so clear to me now. And so understanding instead like what we care about as a common group, because there's people who are 22 years old and 84 years old who might care about the same things as me. And then you get a much better understanding of like how to drive your sales and how to message those people. So welcome to David, Allison, the guru of these things and our dear friend.
Oh, well, it's so nice to be back. And I'm so honored that I'm your first two-time guest. I feel like I need a sash for that. That would be, I promise to mail it on to the next person. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll pass it on. You'll have to, bleach and gloves only, of course.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, totally. So David, like, I mean, just because we've had you here and talked about this before, I'd like to ask you, in the work right now, can you just say generally, like, what are you seeing from the data you're finding? What are you seeing people actually care about most?
It's a great question. It's on top of mind for everybody right now. What do people focused on? What do they care about? And our database and our research is all about measuring for the entire planet. 180 countries we're accurate for now. 152 languages we've had to use to get here. So we have 500,000 surveys in this data set. And what we've done is measure what everybody on the planet cares about and what they value. And then other categories of information about what they want and what they need and what they expect. So it's values, wants, needs, and expectations. So we can take a snapshot for any group of people anywhere in the world for any product or service or an idea and say, what do they actually care about? Instead of what we normally do, as you mentioned, which is how old are they? Are they male or female? Do they have an MBA? Do they have 2.3 children and live in a house with a white picket fence? Or are they not, like, none of that stuff really makes anybody similar to each other. So instead, if you get a group of people who all care about the same things, they're very similar to each other. And we have all this crazy amounts of data now I can talk about for hours that backs this up. So just believe me, if a group of people in a particular audience all care about the same stuff, they're very similar to each other, and demographics just don't even really come into play. So, question on the table, what are people focused on right now? The answer, unexpectedly, is exactly the same stuff they used to be caring about. Nothing's changed.
Amazing.
So what's changed is the way we manifest behavior from our values. So let me give you an example, because that sounds like a lot of fancy schmancy bullshit. If family has always been an important value to you, it's not gone away. It hasn't changed. You haven't suddenly become really interested in your family. You don't get to grow new values or discard them just because something's going on in the outside world. But what you do get to do is change how you act as a result of having a certain set of values. So if family is really important, right now, you're probably really focused on staying in touch with your family, worrying about your family, corresponding with your family, Zoom dinnering with your family. And in the past, you maybe didn't, but family was still important to you. But in the context of the past, pre-COVID, you had a certain set of behaviors around family because family was a value. For people who didn't have a certain set of behaviors around family because family was not something they really had on their list, they still don't have it on their list. It's not like they suddenly got concerned about their family overnight. You were either concerned or you weren't. So the order of importance of our values may have changed. Family may have bumped up a couple levels, but it's always been there. I talk about it like a sock drawer. We got a sock drawer full of socks. Those are our socks. We have them for the rest of our lives. You don't get to throw socks out or or invent new socks or just all you get to do is rearrange the order, and you can decide I'm going to wear these ones a lot more this week because of whatever's going on in my life. And then I don't need those in the next year. So I'm going to wear these ones instead. So you got your values. They're yours for life. Right now, they may be juggled around a bit. You might be using different socks than normal, but that's about it. That's about all that's changed.
Yeah, so that's so funny because it really strikes me. I've been watching a lot of TV. I've been really depressed actually, like not so much because of the crisis, honestly, just because of other startup entrepreneurial things.
Yeah.
And so I gave myself permission just to couch it out a couple of weeks ago, really, and binge watch TV. And so I don't watch live TV normally ever. And so I hadn't seen commercials and stuff for a while. And then I've also been listening to my radio, and I have a home gym now in my office over here. You can't see it. But the only radio station I get upstairs, and I'm old school. I like radio. I don't want to like push buttons on my phone when I'm working out. So I turned on the oldies channel. So here I am. Now you guys can imagine me working out to like dueling, over here. And so I'm watching, how these outlets are marketing to the world. And at first it was interesting to hear and still hear people try to get caught up, right? So you still hear commercials about, come on in to our event on so-and-so, whatever date. It's going to be really fun, and there'll be balloons and whip snappers or whatever, like that. Some of those things are still running, and you're like, hey, I don't think that's going to happen. Or the other thing that's interesting to me is the way people are trying to message what matters, but like do it differently and kind of creep me out a little bit. So like in these trying times,
in these unprecedented times, We all need to be in this together and watch for each other and help each other.
There you go.
Because we're here for you and you're here for us. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you cringe a little bit because it feels forced, and it's not, I don't want to say it's disingenuous, because of course people want to help people and everyone's just trying to figure out how to navigate this, deal. And it's important for all of us to be forgiving, I think. But it does, something about it suggests to me that they're not in touch with the values of what we care about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting topic for sure. We happen to have done about 2 years ago a study of who listens to the radio most, and figure out what their values are. So we could clump them together and go, people who listen to the radio. Now that study was defined as people who listen to the radio at least 3 times a week. And so we found a group of people, we find a statistically representative sample of that population, we get 1,350 of them, and we use what they tell us to go into our giant data set of 500,000 surveys and find all the lookalikes. So we were able to understand what are the values of people who listen to the radio 3 times a week. About 2 weeks ago, someone asked us to do the same thing, but this time for people who listen to the radio every day. And so we did. So pretty close to the same exact study. 2 years later, pre-COVID and during the middle of the COVID crisis, the stay home lockdown thing we're in the middle of right now. And the values, given the slight difference in the way we define the audience and the fact that our data is accurate to within plus or minus 3.5%, exactly the same results. So we have a real live case study right there. Our values don't change. The way we act out by being concerned and focused and thinking certain things are important, we will act out differently based on those values, but the values haven't changed at all. That's kind of heartening, actually. It kind of is good to know, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like spring, right? It's spring. Well, I guess in Australia it's about to be fall, but it's spring in my part of the world, and it comes no matter what. And that was like the best thing to see a couple of weeks ago when those daffodils started going. Yeah. When it was feeling particularly, I was feeling particularly depressed, and I was like, oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is, go ahead.
I was just say here in Vancouver, it's always cherry blossom season. And we've just lived through it. I can see lots of cherry trees out my window, and we've just been through the most amazing pink blossom festival of all time. And when you go for a walk every day, it's beautiful to just walk down the street and suddenly it's deserted. It's just you and the freaking cherry tree and those flowers and the smell. And those were nice little moments. So I think there's still a lot of beauty in the world. That's for sure.
Yeah. And so speaking of like paying attention to, so I want to segue into influencers, which we want to talk about today. Yep. And first one to validate, like my thoughts, as you were telling us what people care about. Like, so I have OCD around organization and our house. And like, so that's what I've been doing. And I know a lot of other people has been as well, like home improvement gone wild. Like I've got my husband doing 4 different jobs right now, and like my Pinterest page is exploding with all my new ideas, and like I'm really focused on that, which is so funny. And like the other thing I wanted to say that like while I do care about my family quite a lot actually, and I'm often the glue between us because we're all different places or divorced and remarried and all that kind of stuff, and I take a lot of pride in that. But normally like I don't do a lot of socializing in my personal life, much because I do so much of it in my work life, sure. Right? And so like I do call my mom or whatever to check in every couple of weeks, whatever, like it's a quick hello, but like the intensity of suddenly the whole world wanting to be always on FaceTime, always on Zoom. And like, definitely I'm glad to be doing it occasionally more with other people, because it's like, I'm missing the social connection too. But I felt this intense pressure to do something that I didn't normally want to do, right? It was really interesting. And so anyways, so let's switch gears.
Before we go there, let me give you the analog going on over here. So one of my primary values that I know about, I'll give you 2. I have 2 things that are very, very important to me that are 2 of my primary values in good times and in bad. One of them is belonging, and the other one is personal growth. So at the moment, there's not a lot of belonging going on in my day. Like I don't have my gym that I go where I feel like I get some sense of belonging, and I don't have boardrooms with clients where I know I belong, and I don't have certain hotels in certain cities where I fit in and I know I belong. So I'm missing the belongingness in a huge way.
Yeah.
And then personal growth is about wanting to be a better version of yourself tomorrow than you are today. And those are marked by milestones. Like I'm still that kid in high school who needs the teacher to go, you got an A, Johnny, good for you. And I'm not getting any A's right now. I'm getting a lot of like, there's a lot of work going on, but those milestones aren't happening. That, okay, I'm in a new city. I got up on a stage, I gave a speech and it went really well. Yay, that was a gold star for the day. Those things are gone. So I'm going through the anxiety thing as well. It's just really hard to stay excited and focused and productive and moving forward when your values aren't being validated throughout the course of your day.
Yeah, it's true. So you just segued into the segue because like you know where we're going. So and thanks, Barbara. Right? Yeah, it's the weird social I don't know what it's called, crowdsourced pressure to maybe fall into a bucket that you're not normally a part of. So David has broken down the buckets of the influence. So if you're a personal brand expert, like David actually, or I'd say me even, and a lot of other people on this call and a lot of other people that we know, and we're all less famous than the Kardashians, obviously.
Except you.
I haven't broken the internet just yet, although I'm working on it with this haircut, clearly. So if you are an influencer and you want to influence others, you need to think about what those people care about. And so according to you, there's 3 buckets that help you understand what they care about. So there's personal growth junkies, which you just talked about, adventurers, and loyalists. So would you break those 3 down for us, help us understand how to reach them and who they are?
I'll give you a quick little, so how we found this out is we went out and we talked to 1,350 people who said that they're more influenced by personal brands than they are by company messages. So these are folks who volunteered and said, yeah, I'll talk to you about this. I admit I am more influenced by when someone is talking to me than when a brand is trying to get me to pay attention to them. So these are folks who are who are self-admitting. Yeah, exactly. I'm more interested in what a human has to say to me than anything else. So as far as that makes us as personal brand experts, I suppose that's as far as it goes. I mean, this is the only study like that we've done. It's not what we spend our time doing, but it's a fascinating thing to understand. So these folks told us enough stuff that we were able to go into our data set of 500,000 surveys and say, okay, who really are these people? We pull out all the lookalikes and we came up with these 3 buckets. So as you said, there's the loyalists, which I want to talk about first because they're almost 40% of the people who said they're influenced by personal brand are loyalists. So that's a huge segment. And then the other 2 segments are adventurers and personal growth junkies. So the loyalists first, let's talk about those guys. Actually, no, let's talk about all 3 as a chunk. So if we look at all 3 of them, they have a few values in common: belonging, personal growth, and personal responsibility. They all share those. So let's break those down. Belonging is what I was talking about that I'm missing right now. I don't feel like I belong anywhere. These folks make all their decisions about everything 24/7, 365 based on how it's going to positively or negatively impact their sense of belonging in the world. So when you know that, what you got to offer them as a brand expert or someone who's trying to get them to pay attention to you need to make them feel more belongingness than before you were in their life. So don't talk to them like a distant third party organized, like make them feel like they're part of the family. Make them feel like they fit in, that they're part of this crowd. Personal growth, as I mentioned before, because it's one of my values, is about how am I going to be better tomorrow? So listening to you as someone online who's trying to influence their decisions, you need to help them understand that by doing this stuff, they're actually making themselves better. They're going to be better tomorrow than they are today. So let's say you're trying to sell them some online retail product, or you've got a new SaaS app that you'd like them to be engaged with. You need to not talk to them about what you think is cool about that. You need to talk to them what they think is cool about everything, which is, how is this going to make me a better person tomorrow than it did today? That's what they were listening for. That's the fire they're already tending. You just need to bring them a log for that fire. The third thing that they all share in common is personal responsibility. And this is one of my favorite values out of our 56 in our data set. Personal responsibility people, these are the ones who get up off the couch and get shit done. They're not going to sit on the couch and say, well, someone should do this. They're the ones like, all right, here we go. I'm going to go take care of that. And they start
someone has to do it. I'm going to do it.
Exactly. So if you want them to follow your personal brand, you want them to be part of your community you're trying to build online around your product, your service, your idea, whatever it is you're trying to do, you need to convince them that somehow what you're asking them to be interested in is a thing that they need to get done. Giving them tools to get stuff done on their own, not rely on anyone else to take care of any of that stuff. So there's three that if you just did nothing else and started to frame all your messages, whatever program, whatever new asset you're going to throw out there, whatever offer you're going to make, frame it around, this is going to make you guys feel like you're part of my family, you're part of the team, you belong, you fit in here, you're going to be a better version of yourself tomorrow than you are today. You're going to grow, you're going to learn a new thing, you're going to see the world through different lenses. And by the way, it's also going to help you get stuff done because we know that's really important to you as well. If you can find those three messages in the connective tissue between your stuff and their stuff, you're going to be way ahead. Now, each one of these groups also has a little, do you want me to stop there? Because I can just keep going.
I think, no, I mean, I like that. I want to ask our group here, does anyone have any questions for David around this? Because like, happy to, hi, Antoinette, awesome to see you here. You know, my first thought was, and again, David is more the data collector than the applier, but I see like Barbara on the call here, and I was wondering what she thinks about like how to apply this information. But Michael has a great question here. He said, so how do you differentiate between three categories, which is great. So I'm just gonna, I pasted them in the chat too. I'll just repaste them too, so people we can keep a running look at them. But yeah, like that's a good understanding. Like, how do you? They do have a lot of overlap. So are there any clear differences that they have, maybe?
Yeah, there's a couple of values that are unique to each one. So a quick little overview of the loyalists. Loyalists are people who are very loyal to everything, not just people, but their routines, their processes, their favorite restaurant, the favorite brand of jeans they have, and their favorite influencers. So once you've got them, this is that 40% group. They're not going anywhere. You can basically chase them around with an axe and they're still going to stick around. They're going to give you the benefit of the doubt and in all things.
40% is huge. That's huge.
It's massive. What a great audience to connect to. So what makes them different in terms, they still have those three same values that the other groups do, but in addition, they have compassion and loyalty. So that's why we call them the loyalists. Loyalist is a huge value for them, but they also care deeply. So connect to them based on co-joined caring. What is it about your thing that they can start to care about and feel compassionate about? And how can you give them the tools they need so that they're going to be loyal to you? You need to show them some loyalty so that they're loyal back to you. So if you think about them as a profile of 5 values, the loyalists, then we have belonging, personal growth, personal responsibility, and then add into the mix a little bit of compassion and loyalty. And if you can frame your messages and brand around those 5 things, they will not be able to ignore you. They will have to pay attention because you're speaking their language. You're speaking into exactly what they're listening for. If you try and talk to them about stuff you think is cool, let's talk about lately as a product. If you come at them and say, this thing does this and it's got this and these bells and this whistle and they're like, okay, cool. I'm busy looking at my fire here. These are the things I'm interested in. But as soon as you can tap them on the shoulder and go, something to do with this is going to make you a better person than you are today. So this is going to help you focus more time on your family and friends because you can spend less time worrying about the nitty gritty of getting posts out there into the social net. That's how they want to hear it. They don't want to hear this thing helps you post stuff on the social web. You go, okay, cool. That has nothing to do with anything I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is growing as a person. So tell me how this is going to help me grow as a person. How is it going to help me get stuff done? So you add compassion and loyalty to the loyalists and understand that they don't want to change anything. They don't want to change their routines, their friends, their processes, everything they go. They want it to stay the same. And those are the 5 things they pay attention to. So the next group, the influence. Hold
on 1 second. I just want to tap into loyalists. So and Barbara chimed in here too, and we have some other questions as well. But the idea of I was thinking with loyalists because empathy is so strong for them, or compassion. You know, that's one thing that we use as a tactic. My sales team and marketing team is to figure out how to be empathetic in a conversation long before we do the pitch, right? And so I think that can be as easy as manifesting a conversation, right? So instead of being like, hey, you got to see this new feature we built or whatever, like, you know, hey, hey, David, how are things out in Vancouver? Like, kind of weird here, whatever. Like, it's just this way to get you talking. I gave you an emotive response. It's kind of weird here. And now hopefully you're going to have some kind of empathy with me, or maybe even sympathy, and we can move the conversation on or grow it from there.
Yeah, let's talk about empathy. Empathy is a behavior that results from a value. So compassion as a value, the way that Lately might tap into that is by coming to somebody and saying, what these people want to do is they want to care about something deeply. They want to be compassionate. They want to signal compassion, and they want to hang around other people who are signaling compassion. So what you need to do for those folks, if you're trying to hit on that value, you need to be saying to them, you know what, Lately, we work with 170 different charities across the United States. And every single one of them is doing great things. And they're in aggregate impacting the lives of 10 million people in this country of ours during this time where we all need to be together and help each other out. And we're all in this together. So if you came to them with that kind of a message, they'd be basically what these folks want. If they have compassion as a value, they want to listen to whatever you're saying and go, oh, yeah, that's what they're listening for. That's what the compassion value is. The loyalty value, the other differentiator for this group compared to the other ones, loyalty is about saying to them, listen, here's how this is going to go down. You sign up for Lately and you give us a try. And if you don't like it, we're going to let you back out, and we're going to donate $1 to the charity of your choice. So you get a little compassion hit and a display of loyalty, and you can talk to them about how Lately is going to make their personal growth value just ring off the charts, because they're going to get to be a better version of themselves tomorrow than they are today. And they're going to get stuff done, because with Lately, you can get 10 times as much stuff done as you would otherwise. By the way,
why haven't we done this more?
By the way, we're all really good friends here at Lately, and we can't wait to welcome you to the family. Next time you're in New York, call us up and we'll go out for a beer. Now you feel like you belong. Okay. So you got belonging, you got personal growth, you see, it's just about taking what you want to get them to do and your message, whatever it is you've got going, and talk to them through these filters that they're using. Here's a really cool thing. You just got to like speak up and interrupt me if I'm not doing what you want me to do here. But
no, and we're good. So we only have 3 minutes left, but I want everybody I want to go on for an additional 5 minutes. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys okay with that?
So I better stay back on top of what I'm supposed to be talking about here. So let's talk about the other two. What I was going to quickly say is that our prefrontal cortex is the CEO of our brain and actually determines how we're going to process everything and what we're all going to, it bosses the rest of your body and brain around. And it uses values as a way to make those judgment calls. So it's biology. Your brain is using values to figure out what you're going to do in a situation. So the other two groups, the adventurers and the personal growth junkies. I'm looking down here because that's where my notes are. The adventurers, experiences and self-expression are the two things that make them unique on top of the three things that all three of these groups share. So experiences is, I don't want anything to be the same. I want to go and try that new restaurant. I love these jeans I'm wearing. They're worn out. I don't want to try the same brand again. Why would I do that? I might like something else better. They just want to try stuff. They're the opposite of the loyalists. Now they're only like 20% of the market and the loyalists are 40. So you got to decide, changing stuff up a lot is going to attract the experienced people, but keeping things the same is going to attract the loyalist people. So you got to figure out which one
Barbara's point was, by the way, on our chat here. So yeah, they're loyalists are risk adverse.
Yeah, absolutely. In all aspects of their life. Self-expression is pretty self-apparent. I think what these folks, this group is about is they just really want to be able to say, here's who I am, world. So Lately gives me an opportunity to say, here's who I am, world. Every day there's posts going out that are helping people understand who I am and what my brand is all about. Lately is an amazing self-expression tool. It's not a social media tool. It's a self-expression tool that helps you get stuff done and helps you feel like you're part of the crowd and helps you grow and be a better person tomorrow. That's what Lately sells, not social media posts. And then we go to the personal growth junkies. These folks are, yes, that personal growth value is shared across the board. These guys double and triple down on personal growth. That's what their whole life is about. They're just constantly looking to learn stuff. And they're the ones who are sitting at home during this isolation phase and saying to themselves, I'm going to write a new book and redecorate the living room and teach my kids how to speak Spanish. And that's what they're all about. So as a brand online, trying to engage with them and build community with these folks, what you need to say to them is, let's go do all this stuff together. We're in, let's go. Come on, let's go and figure out a whole bunch of things we can grow and new things we can learn and all this kind of stuff. So there's a little synopsis I know you posted out there for everybody. I hope that that helps understand the differences here. But the real key big takeaway, if we don't get stuck in the weeds, is stop trying to attract your audience based on their women who are 18 to 24 years old and live in this part of the world, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't make sense. I can quote you statistics for days that proves that those people have nothing in common with each other. Instead, find out what the core values of your audience are. Simply ask them, what do you care about? What's on your mind all the time? What's the last thing you think about before you go to bed? What's the first thing you think about when you wake up in the morning? If you ask enough people, you'll start to see patterns there. Those are their values speaking to you and saying, please talk to me. Talk to me about these things that I care about and that rule my life. And we're going to get along just fine.
Yeah. So Barbara wants to know who's what. So I'm a number 2, surprise, surprise. And then I'd say three. It's hard. Yeah. 3 behind that. I mean, it's not that I'm loyal to people more than products, I guess you might say. Although I'm also a Capricorn, which means I don't like change. But what I want to know, and I'm curious about what everybody else is, Vicky, Antoinette, let us know in the chat where you guys are at as well. How do you, if you're not you, David Allison, how do you find this out about your customers?
Well, the first thing is just every chance you get to talk to them, whether you're doing this formally through a survey or it's just interaction through your frontline customer service team, see if you can't get them to talk about what's really on their mind. Seriously, if the first thing that they say when you, like right now, everybody's starting every conversation with everybody by, how are you doing? And the first thing people say about themselves tells you what their primary value is. If someone says, oh, my kids are just like hating this, like, well, guess what? Family and kids are one of their biggest values. So everything you can do to talk to them through that, they're going to be interested. If someone else says, I miss the gym more than anything, you go, well, guess what? Health and fitness and personal well-being. That's what these folks are focused on. It's a great time to find out. And even when post-COVID, if you just start asking people that question, formally, informally, in your customer surveys with your frontline team, people on the phone, whatever, just say, how's it going? What's up in your world today? And you'll start to see some patterns. And that's the easiest and best way to do this.
Yeah. So, okay. I just had a couple of thoughts and I'm only sharing this with everybody here because maybe they'll figure out how to apply it at home. So like, I'm thinking Lauren and Chris and Luis, we want to like take our customer document and put in 3 new columns. One is personal growth junkie, one is loyalist, and one is the adventurers. And then I want you guys to check the box which one they are so that we know how to market to them after your first conversation, right? And we'll like have this, and it'll be really cool to see the patterns and to understand like, of our 300 plus customers, what's the majority of them? Where do they fall? I actually think I pretty much know, but I'd be really curious to know that. Now
remember, this is for people who say they're influenced by a person. So when the Kate brand is out talking, these will apply. When the Lately brand is out talking, they won't apply because that's a brand talking to them. It's about people being influenced by people. That's this study that we did.
Right.
I guess the other thing I have to say for people who, before everybody has to leave and tune out, if they're really interested in using this as a way to understand how to change their audience behavior, which is really what it boils down to. And I hate saying this because it always feels like I'm trying to pimp my book, but anybody who's written a book in the last little year knows that you make about $1 a copy. So the entire population of my city would have to buy a book before I make any money on this book. But in the book, there's 10 questions. It's a 10-question quiz. You can throw it up on SurveyMonkey or Google questions, or whatever it is you use. Ask your customers, ask everybody you possibly can. If you are a personal brand trying to find a community and how to figure out how to influence them, ask them these 10 questions. And the results will point you to one of 10 chapters in the book where we've downloaded everything we know about one of the 10 biggest tribes of people based on values in the United States. So it's like playing the piano with your fists. It's not super accurate because we only have 10 big giant groups we're talking about, but at least you're playing the piano now. So that's a good thing. You're on the right instrument, and it's basically for like 14 bucks, you can start to use this 500,000 survey data set that we've spent 5 years building. I just want everybody to start thinking about our values instead of our stupid demographic stereotypes from olden days.
Awesome. And so thanks, Katie posted the link, and I was trying to post it as well to Amazon. So for folks who want to do that. And I think I mean, I'm really excited about this shift. It just seems, if it's not obvious to everybody on this call, like that old way is so antiquated, and now more than ever is shining a spotlight on how outdated and archaic. And you know this from your research, but like, in fact, if you are pitching your targets in that old way as demographics as the baseline, you're losing money, and you in fact, right? Yeah.
Can I throw a couple stats at you?
Please. Yeah. And then we got to wrap it up, but yeah, for sure. Please do.
So we have 500,000 surveys from around the world, super accurate, academic, like ready for a PhD from Harvard. This stuff's real.
Amazing.
If we just isolate millennials as an example and say, how often do you figure they agree with each other on any of this stuff? 436 different metrics about what we care about. Basically, what does it mean to be alive and human, walking on this earth? Millennials agree with each other, I hope you're sitting down, 13% of the time. So imagine the trillions of dollars and hours we've spent trying to do stuff for millennials, where you could, if you did everything perfectly, you'd get a 13% ROI.
At best.
You didn't do it perfectly because nobody does. So you maybe got a 10% ROI. And now last stat, and then we'll go. All of us, just because we're humans, we agree with each other about 8% of the time. So you take the difference between 8% and 13%, that's how much more effective you are being if you use millennials as a target audience than if you just did whatever the fuck you wanted and said anything to anybody.
So last question, which is amazing, and comes from Wendy, and this is a great one, so we'll wrap up here. And this is awesome in the chat, by the way. Thanks, all of you. Why do you think it's taking people so long to get away from demo profiling? Do you think marketers are hung up there using the old? I mean, I have some ideas, but I'm really curious of yours. Like, what's
There's two reasons. One is you buy media based on demographics. So the media wants you to think about demographics because that's how they sell stuff to you. That's one. The second one is, since the beginning of time, we've been taught to make snap judgments on people based on what they look like. Because that's how we survived. If those three guys coming at me middle of the night on a dark street in downtown Chicago in a bad neighborhood, 3 black teenagers are walking towards me, I don't care how liberal and evolved and accepting of the world you are, your brain's going to go, this is probably not the safest place to be right now. And 3 little old ladies walking down the street to you in the same place, you're going to go, oh, they're probably lost. I should go help them. We judge people based on outward appearances. It's what we do. It's how we've survived and knew that the saber-toothed tiger was not a kitty to bring home for our kids. We had to be able to make snap judgments to survive. And we're still doing it. We're still going, baby boomers hate the planet. Millennials eat avocado toast. I'm sorry to use those silly old jokes, but it's true. That's what we still think.
Yeah, it is true. And I think the other thing as well is that as marketers, especially, you know, we've talked about this before, we get this weird rap that we're like using some hoodoo voodoo magic, and we just like have some markers and crayons in the back room. And that's what we're really doing versus like science and you know, empirical data.
Smarty pants stuff.
Yeah, totally. And so I think like because demographics is such an easy way for anybody to point to empirical information, it's always just the go-to, right? So it's this is a very big mind shift, because even the word values sounds artsy-fartsy, right? I mean,
totally.
Right? That's just that's the deal.
That's why I try and talk about it. It's really just a measurement of what we all care about the most. That's what our values are. What do we care about the most?
Yeah, I care about my hair the most right now. I really hate it.
And we're back full circle. Nice ending.
All right. Hey, so I'm so impressed with you, of course, and I'm really impressed with this chat of these people. Like you guys made me want to watch my own show. So I'm like super impressed with all of you and thankful. And David, we're so thankful for you as well. you know, and this is I hope all of you have customers like David in your lives. And if you do, nurture them and make them your friends. I mean, we've never actually met in person, and there's so many things I would do for you.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like you're one of my besties, and we've never even been in the same room.
Agree.
Nuts.
Yeah.
If people want to keep going with this chat, they can. Just find me on LinkedIn. Or if you go to valuegraphics.com and sign up for my newsletter, there's no real newsletter, just sign up and we start sending you stuff like once a week or whenever we get our act together. We release new data and try and share as much as we can.
Awesome. Cool. And we will send the replay, as Barbara pointed out, so you guys can have that and share it along. And next week on Office Hours, Lauren returns to show you some magic as always. So you can always get me for more info about anything, kate@trylately.com. @trylately is all of our other magic. And we love you. Thanks for joining us for Lately Live today.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.